Hello and welcome to another episode of the Studio 78 podcast. I am your host, Nache from NacheSnow.com. Welcome, my friends. Oh my goodness, great episode today. I have Miss Jen Morris on. She is the former owner of Cupcakeology, which was a multiple six-figure cupcake business, and she now runs the Morris School of Business and Financial Freedom, her and her husband. Oh my goodness, so much goodness. But before we dive in, a couple of housekeeping things. Number one, my Milanote class is out on Skillshare. If you don't know what Milanote is, it's a vision boarding app, and I absolutely love it. Yes, it is a paid app. If you are a hardcore vision boarder and need it for like planning some work stuff to planning your house, like it is the app for you. And so if you're interested in learning more about it, head on over to nachesnow.com/Skillshare. If you do not already have a Skillshare account, that's okay, because with my link, they will give you 30 days for free. And so you can watch my course for free. nachesnow.com/Skillshare, my friends. So take advantage of that. I also have an organization course that's been on there for a couple of years now, and Skillshare just has so many amazing courses on there. I've learned how to hand letter on there, illustrate using Procreate on there. I've done some productivity courses on there. I learned how to use Midjourney. Like, I am a Skillshare fan. University of Skillshare, hello. And so if you use my link, nachesnow.com/Skillshare, you too can check out Skillshare for 30 days, at least at the time of this recording. That is what they're offering. So definitely check it out. Okay. Also, if you have not already, sign up for my newsletter, friends, nachesnow.com/newsletter, okay? I talk about my favorite books, things that I've found in the wild that I love. I put links there. I post the latest episodes to the podcast. And then I also just kind of give my thoughts on productivity tips and other things that I think will be useful for you as you try to make time for your passion and get organized. So remember to do that, my friends. And of course, if you love this episode, head on over to Apple Podcasts. Please rate me 5 stars. Spotify, please rate me. You're on YouTube watching me. Hey. Please give me a thumbs up. Wherever you're listening, subscribe, my friends. And of course, sharing is caring. So if you think this episode will be useful for someone you love, please share. Okay? Okay, so what is this episode about? So I am so glad Jen Morris reached out to me and my friends. You know, I've been telling you guys, leave me a message on SpeakPipe, She actually left me a message on SpeakPipe, said hey, and then also followed up with an email about wanting to be on a podcast. I looked her up and I just loved everything that I found on her. So I had to have her on, and I'm so glad I did, because this was such a great conversation. So in a nutshell, her and her husband ran Cupcakeology for about a decade, and they grew it from, baking cupcakes out of their house to a multiple six-figure business. And she talks about the journey along the way, including a bankruptcy, and how she kind of worked through all of those different challenges, and why now she has chosen to shift from baking cupcakes to actually helping other businesses, just not bakeries, but other businesses, figure out how to create a business plan, how to understand their numbers, and in general, how to run their business. And she's doing that with her husband over at Morris School of Business and Financial Freedom. And so, wow, the conversation is just really just number one, it's just like a good story, but then it is just packed full of really good lessons learned that all of us can learn from and then kind of use to help us make smart decisions in the future. So I am really excited to share Jen's story with you, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts on it. Definitely leave something in the comments or shoot me an email or shoot her an email and let us know your thoughts. All right. But without further ado, let's get to Jen. Here we go. Hello, Jen, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Hello, Miss Lord.
I am good. I am so glad to have you on the podcast. I have your website up, I have your social media up, and there's so much to dig into. So much. What I want to start off with is Cupcakeology, right?
Yes.
But even before Cupcakeology, before you were selling cupcakes, because I know it's transformed, right? The business.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your origin story. Who is Jen? What were you doing before Cupcakeology?
Jen is a mess. Jen is crazy. That's what she is. But to get granular, I was always an ambitious little girl, right? My father never really bought into the fact of giving kids allowance for doing work at things around the house, right? I don't know where that came from, but y'all not about to have it. Being 9, 10, 11, 12, your friends go to the corner store, 7-Eleven. That was our corner store back in the day. 7-Eleven, you get the Slurpees, the candy bars and things like that. But I didn't have a source of income like my friends. So I always was a person who was in the kitchen. I was the kid who stood up on a little step stool, wanted to see what mom and dad were cooking, wanted to see what mom and dad were baking, because my mother and my father both cooked and baked. Now, my dad baked more than my mom. So I was always digging at his banner. He would put aside his little cookie dough for me before he put chocolate chips in it, because I did not like chocolate chips. So I just came up like that. So there was a recipe, a pound cake recipe in the drawer in my kitchen. And I can never remember just what made me take that pound cake recipe out. But I started fiddling with it, playing with it, making it my own. Had this unique taste palette. Like I was very picky with my food, and I liked it to be good, gourmet, a certain way. Just bake that for the family and things. And then, I don't know, I just got this idea. Let me start baking it and cutting it up, making different types and variations of pound cake and selling this thing. Because sell it, then I can get some money to go and get a Slurpee from selling it. So that's what I started doing. And I'm like 9, 10 years old. And I was baking these pound cakes and slicing them up, wrapping up slices and making muffins out of them cupcakes and things.
Wow.
A little table outside, back when you can do that, when people trusted you, right? And I would put my little tablecloth and set my little pastries up, and I would make homemade iced tea lemonade. And I would just sell it, probably very cheap.
Yeah.
I didn't want
But
much.
still, yeah.
Slurpee, it's a candy. And that's what I did. So I just started selling anything I could get my hands on in my house. I would have little yard sales and just put my little signs up, and I would direct people over. And yeah, I think first to buy, once I got the idea, like people actually pay me money for something I can give them. Okay. That's how that came to be. But just evolving and growing and turning into a teenager and like getting the rightful age of 16 to be able to illegally work, right? All that just went away. That spirit, the entrepreneurial spirit just went away. It got suppressed. I didn't say it went away. It got suppressed, right? Because nobody really nurtured it like today.
Right. Like now, right. Everybody's like, oh yeah, you should be an entrepreneur, but that wasn't the way. Yeah.
Oh, so like no one nurtured them. And I just always think back, what if they did nurture it? Or what if they helped me out? Or what if they found different mentors and things for me? Where would I be today? Like, how would my story be different? It just is. And so I just went and did what every normal teenager did, started working and just going to school. And then it was that.
Yeah. And I think that's a story of a lot of people, right? They have this passion or something that they were really good at or just really loved as they were growing up. It could be in elementary school or high school. And then, like, when you get to your teenage years and then in your 20s, something happens, right? it gets put to the side. You start doing other things. And so, what made you get back to baking?
I came literally full circle. It never went away. That first job at 16, my grandmother took me to Old Country Buffet. She said, listen, you need to get a job. And I wasn't even 16 yet. She's like, you need to get a job. And I'm like, yeah, what? I'm okay, but all right. So she drove me around. And one of the places were Taco Bell, Burger King, because those were her favorite places to eat, right? And Old Country Buffet, I don't know if you're familiar with that, if you
Oh,
have
yeah.
that, are, but that was one of her favorite buffets, and I wasn't even able yet to work, but she got me the interview, and he said, "I'm ready to hire you, but you gotta wait till you're 16." And then so 16 came, I started working, and that's when I actually met my husband. Now,
Oh, wow.
a husband didn't happen then, but we
Right.
were friends for a long time, and then we came back full circle years later. But so when we started having children, we got married, started having children. We had our second child, our daughter, and I was working as a real estate agent at that time because I always wanted to have an element of self-employment.
Mhm.
Out it being 100% self-employment because again, I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know what that meant as an adult, having
Right.
bills, right?
Right.
Oh, but I always had to keep that little bit of autonomy some way, somehow. So I was working as a mortgage broker in the mortgage industry, that craziness, right? And then, but I kept my real estate license and it just was a lot. It was a
Yeah.
lot having to work 2 jobs. He was working 2 jobs and we had the children. And I just never saw myself as being that mom who was okay with sending her kids to daycare all day. I just never was that person. I wanted my kids. I wanted to be around them. I wanted to see their growth and how they changed. And I wanted to see those everyday little nuances that happen with them.
Mm.
So I came back to my husband. I said, listen, babe, what can we do? Like, I'm really not happy with what's going on. How can
Mm.
we change that? We started brainstorming. And then we were like, wait a minute. What about a restaurant? What about a bakery? I didn't think about that. And we always cook. We always bake in the house. Like we literally have dessert every single night, even to today. My house is dessert before dinner. That's the household I live in. So we started brainstorming what that looks like. Now he stayed in the corporate food industry where I left when I went to mortgage, corporate, that type of corporate real estate. He stayed in the food. So he's
Mm.
like, no, I don't want to really go back there. That's a lot. It's a lot of work.
You're right.
I just like, no. I was like, no, it'll be okay. It'll be different. It'll
We've got this.
be working. It's not going to be the same because it'll be ours. And that's
Right.
kind of time where Cupcake Wars, I think that was the very first
Oh,
season, Cupcake
yeah.
Wars, Food Truck Wars, all of that was happening on the Food Network. So I wanted to be a
Yeah.
that. Like, I
Right.
wanted that. And we didn't have that type of trendy food trucks or trendy bakeries in our area. They were pretty much, dry, like generational bakeries. They some hard
Cause what
cookies,
area are you in?
wait for that. So at that time we were in Pennsylvania,
Okay.
right outside of Philly. Right outside.
Okay. Okay.
So suburbs of Philly, everybody's traditional and we gotta be this thing pop. We have to bring something new up in here 'cause it's boring.
Right.
So I was like, let's be those people. So we tried to fill that void and
Mm.
started testing and putting flavors out there and just pina coladas and French toast and maple bacons and all these things.
Mm.
And people loved it.
Now
Yeah,
I'm hungry. Maple
yeah.
bacon.
I know, right? They love them. So my husband, yeah, they love them because they free. So let's go to price to them, but see if they gonna love 'em just the same. Because
Right.
a little thing that's free. And then we started charging and nobody had a problem.
Wow. And then
Like,
at this time, what type of products were you baking or making?
it was just cupcakes at that time.
It was just cupcakes. Okay.
100%.
Different types of
Yeah.
uniquely flavored cupcakes. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to be so different. Like, you're never going to get a cupcake this flavor anywhere else, like ever. So
Right.
we're the first to bring those flavors, those unique flavors to that area. You can find them here and there in Philly,
Mhm.
but not in the outskirts of Philly. So
Oh.
started
So
that
people are
trend.
like, "What is This is
Yes,
delish.
yes. And it was like, because in that area, it was like, what you just did, I love it. What is this? This is delicious, but I don't know if I should be doing this all the time. I've been going here for generations. My whole family goes to this bakery. My whole family goes,
Right.
I don't really know. That was a challenge. That was a challenge.
Yeah. And at
But
this time, how were you guys selling it? Were you selling it to other bakeries or was it word of mouth? What did that look like?
it was out of our home. Word
Yeah.
of mouth. I was still working. He was still working. So we would take those bad boys to the job, sell it at the job, girl. And then I'm trying to be sneaky about it because I don't know if the higher ups were okay with that. But girl, they was ordering.
I asked that because I think it's important to hear because sometimes people are like, oh, before I can start doing anything, I have to have a whole, like a store, or I have to do this, or I have to do that.
Oh,
When it's like, no, actually, maybe just get started with whatever it is, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just get started because you don't even know if people are going to go for it.
Right.
You know, like you get the whole process. And that's the thing. We just had to make sure because he's, like I said, they were getting it for free, but are they going to continually buy these cupcakes to where we could take this thing to the next level? And they did. And, but the thing is with us, we couldn't go any further. We were growing in our house. We couldn't go any further because we couldn't legally get a license out of our house.
Oh, okay.
So we
So
were
it was like, okay, what do we do next? Right.
yes, what do we do next? And then so just being young, not having any type of mentorship,
Mm.
just not knowing. We didn't have these business conversations growing up. Him nor I. Like
Mm.
we didn't talk business over dinner. So
Right. It just wasn't a part of it. Yeah. Like,
that wasn't our thing.
yeah.
So we didn't know what we were doing. So we took to Google and tried to figure out how to start a business. Google direct us like everybody
Right.
else does, right? But Google's so generic.
Yeah. And but
Give me your
everything, it's so, yeah. And especially at that time, right? Like I feel like nowadays you probably
thing.
can get something more specific, especially to your industry. But depending on what year you're talking about, I think back in my day, it's just it would be very broad and so high level and so corporate. You're like, this
Yes,
isn't, how is this gonna help me? Yeah.
and it didn't. Like, we're talking back in 2010.
Mm.
So, yes, very broad, very high level, very and even when we tried to go to the local government scores and the government agencies that help you start a business, like, they were, like, directing us or guiding us with the assumption that we knew some type of business.
Oh, you're
I
like, I
to
need
go
the
from
step by step
0 and
playbook.
step by step this thing.
Right.
Nothing. Business plan and all that, like, you can forget it. I that was just over the top. I'm just like, "We just wanna sell cupcakes. I don't think we need a
Mm.
business plan. That's not necessary." And girl, that was the wrong mindset, but I didn't know that then. So,
Mhm.
a business plan is absolutely necessary for your audience, like, starting it is necessary. Don't ever think because you're starting off small that you don't need one because that's what you need to grow big.
And I feel like sometimes when people hear business plans, they get scared of it. It's almost like you have to like call it something else so people can realize like it's important to have this document or this framework that talks about everything that you plan to do, right? And want to do and how you'll make money and eventually scale the business and all that good stuff.
Yeah, but it is overwhelming. And that's why it's very overwhelming. And then when you're just trying to get your foot in the door, that's too technical. And that's why I teach it the way I teach it. Like I don't make it technical at all. I can't. I need to make sure that they don't get afraid of it. Make sure.
Yeah.
Yes, and we were just weighing it pretty much. We couldn't legally bake out of our home. We were doing this thing under the table. And we found ourselves doing, we couldn't even do farmers markets, but we found ourselves doing this
Mm.
one festival. And this one festival was our foot in the door. That was like our aha moment. That was
Mm.
like that one festival we worked all weekend to get up 350 cupcakes. And it took us
Wow.
48 hours because we were at home,
Ah!
not the
Right.
commercial kitchen. And girl, we went and set up those cupcakes were going to an hour, not even. Just like,
Wow.
and we looked at each other. I will never forget the feeling like we can do this. This is going to be a thing. Because when they came back crumbs, they would try to get the crumbs. They would all of our business cards. They wiped us out.
Oh my goodness. That's when you know you have something,
Right,
right?
right. They wiped us out. So that's when we had to say, okay, what is this next step? We can't do this in our home rate. We can't shout it out to the world that Cupcakeology is here. What do we have to do?
Mhm.
And that's when we couldn't afford the brick and mortar at that time. We just
Mhm.
weren't prepared at all. But we knew we had to take this next step. And that's when we found the office building and we rented a kitchen inside of an office space with EPA
Oh.
there. There was a guy selling DVDs and CDs in there. There was a diet doctor in there. Like it was a full on office suite. Um,
Wow.
everyone coming in there with a commercial oven and a refrigerator selling cupcakes, baking
Right.
cupcakes.
Make it work.
But I didn't care because now we were able to get licensed. We were legit. We had our space. I took my kids on a daycare. They were in there with us all day. And
Mm.
that was the beginning of Cupcakeology Bakery.
Wow. Okay. Oh my goodness. So I'm gonna because I want to get to the business side of it, but I wanted people to just have like the story of Cupcakeology, so they know that you're just not teaching this. It's like, no, no, no. I actually did this, lived this.
God,
Like
did
I am
I?
speaking from experience. And so a couple of other things I love to dive into with Cupcakeology. One thing that I noticed is you are able to get a lot of press.
Mm.
And so I'm curious, at what point did that happen in your business and how were you able to do that? Because I think a lot of times people struggle with marketing. So I'm
Mhm.
curious how you guys were able to like really put yourself out there and like, get on the news and get on shows and do all the things.
Yeah. Where did it start? At what point? Day one.
Mm, okay, y'all heard that.
Because once I was able to get legit, I wanted everybody to know about us.
Mm,
So I remember just getting on the internet and just figuring out who our local bloggers were. I wanted everybody to be at that first grand opening, right? At the office.
mm.
I wanted write-ups. I wanted newspapers. And so we had bloggers come down there. We didn't get all the newspapers right. I feel like they had to figure out, okay, let's see how long they
Let's see
around,
which
right?
one.
That see how legit they really are. Because honestly speaking, we were in an area. I said it's in a suburban area right outside of Philly.
Mhm.
So we were in an area, girl, that really was not supportive of us. Really wasn't
Oh.
supportive who looked like us, even living there, first of all. Okay. Because we
Mm.
lived in that neighborhood and we were the first Black owned family on our block in that
Oh,
neighborhood.
wow.
And then so they was like a little shady with that. And then we gonna have a nerve to try to open a business in that too. They were like, y'all just put too much. Y'all doing way too much. And so they were not supportive. So I realized that immediately, even before we opened, because
Mm.
the inspectors came down and they were just really shady, had their nose up in the air, and they were just like, now, yeah, no, it wasn't traditional. You
Mm.
weren't coming in here and it wasn't a brick and mortar. And listen, this is what we can do. But they made that known. Like they made it known that this is different and this is weird. And one of the inspectors said that you guys are not even gonna be here long. Like he flat out said,
Wow.
be here long. You're not gonna get no more than two people in here, but sure, I'll approve you. And that was like, I said, my husband looked at me and said, Lord have mercy. He said the wrong thing to the wrong person. Cause you just gave her fuel, sir. I knew from there that I wasn't going to be the neighborhood bakery.
Mm.
So that clicked in my head to, all right, I have to start marketing everywhere just to attract everybody and
Mm.
be aware that what what's going to happen from there, like what that's going to mean as far as our volatility here. Are we going to be able to stay here? So that's when I got the idea. I got to get these bloggers down here. I got to call the newspapers down here. I got to get the Fox 17, everybody down here. And so
Right.
like I said, the bloggers just came, but I didn't really get the press until we were there a few months. And,
Mm.
and people were talking. So it was buzzing because those cupcakes were good.
Right.
And people were buzzing. So then the newspaper came down and they wanted to do an interview. And, everyone loved our story. So everybody kept saying the same thing. I love your story. I love your story. I love your story. I'm like, okay, that was just our life and what we did, but they're calling it a story. They're calling it something. I got something here. So we
Yeah.
started to capitalize all of that story. So
Mm.
had the fancy. We even got a food truck at that time, but it wasn't fancy. That wasn't fancy because we just didn't have the capital that we needed to have the business run, pay me, and be fancy at the same time. But this story thing, people seem to like. So I was like, I'm going to give them more of this story.
It's
So,
all
but
that brand story, right?
brand story. And then so I started going on social media and sharing that same story over and over again, telling different parts of it. And then I noticed people started just gravitating organically to us on social media. They started
Mm.
cheering us along. And we were always very transparent, always very authentic. I don't even know to be any other type of way. That's just me. You gonna see it all. I'm here, flaws and all.
Right.
And that's what happened. And we just took them along the ride with us, our customers and everybody. And I think that they felt connected to us. They felt like they were a part of our journey because
Mm.
we let them in. And then they started spreading the word about us and their, network started spreading the word about us. And I feel like they wanted to be a part of that so bad. And it was just easy. It was organic. To
Mm.
try that hard. But I tell people today, like, you're trying too hard because you're trying to hide. You're trying to let the product sell itself, which to a point it can. I don't even care if it's a product, a service, whatever, but you're trying to hide. And what people buy is you. They buy you. They want to know you, especially these days. We don't want the wool pull over our head anymore. We lifting that thing up and we like, listen, who's the CEO behind this product? Do we like them? Do we like their values? Do we like where they coming from? You know
Right.
what I'm saying? And that's why you see, I remember seeing the transition of the big businesses going from just the name and the big Target and Walmart and stuff to the CEO started getting a personal branded social media account. I
Wait
was
a
like,
minute.
you want to want to be this cool? Because people started wanting to see who they're spending their money with. And so
Mhm.
I tell people, be the face, even though some people are shy. Everybody's not like me. I get it. But some people are shy. We have some legitimate introverts out there. And
Yeah.
I teach them, like, individually, okay, if you're an introvert, you could do this, but you can still share who you are. So I really feel like that was a huge part of getting that press, getting that. And I was just always, I don't take no for an answer. Oh,
You're
this-
gonna be like,
I'm not afraid
you
of
didn't
it.
respond this time, but I'm gonna circle back. So
I get with you, right? I'm like, she had this amazing thing on her website, this voicemail thing, and I've never received it before. I want to try it out. But
right.
so that's just the type of person that I am. So that's how we always got the press. And then with Steve Harvey, I was literally eating dinner one day and I said, and I listened to him every single morning, right? Who doesn't listen to Steve Harvey? And I'm like, this man need to try these maple vegan cupcakes. 'Cause I know he like them cupcakes. Well, I just wrote an email from his website, just one of them inquiries. And he's a comedian. He's funny. So I put some funny elements in it, something about his big lips and wait till you taste this cupcake and you fall out, all this other stuff, right? Girl, so they read that email on air the next morning. Like, I'm thinking that's gonna stay between us.
Right. That's so
They read that thing the next morning. And so the producer called me and she, did you hear your email read? And I'm like, no, because I was baking. I didn't even tune in that early, really early.
oh.
I said, no, oh my gosh, y'all read that thing on national, like syndicated radio. And so we loved everything about that silly little email. We need you to come to our studio and we need you to be on the morning show and we need you to be on our talk show.
Oh my goodness.
So I was like, okay. So I guess we're flying out. At that time, they were in Chicago, not LA. So I was like, okay, I guess we're going to Chicago. And that's what we did. And they told us what to
Wow.
bring. And we packed up all of our little cupcake tools and everything. And we flying with these things. And we're in a hotel room, swirling up cupcakes and decorating, sprinkling up cupcakes. And at that time, we had the bar line. So our bar line was our alcohol cookie.
Ah.
Put some of them on there too, girl. So you can see him. I have clips on my website. Like you can see him eating that pizza rock cupcake. Like, what the heck is this? So it was just fun because I realized and I tell my clients and my students, a lot of times you don't get the coverage because you just don't ask. Just ask.
That is so true, right? So many missed opportunities because people just didn't even bother to send the email, pick up the phone,
Right.
respond to maybe a social media post where they literally say, "Hey, promote your company, just DM us." And people won't even do that sometimes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just taking that action.
I always
Mm,
say, don't tell yourself no. Let them tell you no, but you don't tell yourself no and not go for it. And
I
if it
love
works,
it.
great. If it doesn't, okay.
And now for you guys, before you guys decided to close the bakery, you guys made a significant amount of money, right?
Oh, we were so blessed. Oh my gosh, we were so blessed. So that whole beginning situation
Yeah.
in the office building with the not so fancy food truck, and that led to multiple different business collaborations. And one of those significant collaborations was the airport, the Philadelphia International Airport. So we
Mm.
were able to get a kiosk in there, which was amazing. Big
Mm.
news. I just knew we were going to be rich, girl. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. We're going to be rich. Our cupcakes going to be everywhere. This is going to be it. Like we hit it. And then that was our downfall, right? That was
Mm.
our downfall before our come up because again, we didn't have the mentorship, the guidance. We didn't have the business knowledge behind us. We just knew we had a great product or we could sell. And
Mm-hmm.
and that was it. I thought that was like the recipe to having and growing a business. And so to get into a business collaboration, like that's like another business in and of itself. That's its own
Mm.
entity because
Mm.
it's so expensive to be in there. So that was like our brick and mortar, right? Just
Yeah.
at the airport. So we didn't connect those dots. We walked in there not knowing how much it was going to take to get in there, how much it was going to take to stay in there, and how much
Mm.
going to need to sell to make a profit
Mm.
or to even break even. And we were doing, we made a lot of money in there, but the real estate, that's it. Our
Yeah. It
estate,
eats
we
the
had,
profits, right?
we had the storage downstairs, it was eating our profit up. Plus, we
Mm.
had to hire 6 more staff members. I
Oh,
had all
right.
of that in that little office building bakery. So we had a whole other business and we didn't even walk into it like that. And long story short, we went under and we were going under so far and so fast that our food truck was in jeopardy and our regular business was in jeopardy. And
Mm.
what to do? My husband didn't know what to do. We didn't know how to save it. The only way we knew how to save it was to just file for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. And that's what we did. And that was like, to me at that time, the worst thing, so devastating because I'm
Mm.
thinking I'm a failure. I'm thinking
Mm-hmm.
we failed. That
Mm-hmm.
only thing that was going in our heads is we failed. But I feel like, I don't know if I'm a spiritual person, but I feel like that was our saving grace. That was God saying,
Mm.
oh, I'm throwing you a lifeline. So you
Mm.
learned so much in this process. And we did. That was like business school. That was like everything that we needed in order to turn this thing around. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
we had got an opportunity to lease a building that was right up the street from our office building that kept coming back, but we weren't ready. We weren't ready to make that leap and really get out of that office building. We were comfortable.
Right.
By God's way, I'm going to make you a little uncomfortable, but you would close these doors so you can walk into that door, okay? But you're going to learn from your mistake and do it right. Because
Mm.
if we didn't have that situation with the airport, girl, we could have just signed another lease, got our storefront, hallelujah, thank you, and we would have been
Mhm.
just waiting it in there, and it, Lord knows what had happened there. So when we decided to sign that lease, we said we have to sit down and write this business plan. We don't
Mm.
know what it is. We are afraid of it. Learn. Okay, then we worked day and night. We studied the business plan, studied each section, studied numbers. We actually made a financial sales goal. We never, all that time, we were almost 5 years in that office building and never had a sales goal because whatever we could sell is great. As long as we can pay the bills, cool.
Right.
That's not a way to grow a business.
Right.
To run a business. And so we actually made a sales goal. I said, doggone it, we're going to hit 150,000 this year. And this was the same year that we filed for bankruptcy. And I wanted to do
Mm.
150,000 gross in sales. And we wrote that business plan according to that. And we didn't realize that wasn't a lot when you do it the right way. And we hit that immediately. We had our second grand opening and we hit that immediately following the outline, the marketing plan. We actually had a marketing plan, girl. We have to do before. Yeah, we just knocking doing, hey, shoving cupcakes in people's mouths. But we had a flow. We had sales goals. We had projections. We taught ourselves that. I studied other CEOs in other industries and how they grew their business and what they did to grow and continue to get out there, things like that. And then so we just kept upping that sales number.
Mm.
You know what? I want to do 500,000. We gonna do this. What is that gonna look like? To the business plan we go. And then we just follow. So the more you become successful, the more people are going to try to like gravitate towards you and say, hey, come work with me. Hey, come do this. Hey, come do that. And I learned that if you don't have a goal, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if it's a small goal or an outlandish goal, just have a freaking goal
Yeah.
and work, make your plan and work towards it. Because when these people come from out of the woodwork, they go say, hey, come this way, hey, come that way, you can determine if that collaboration is in alignment with your goal. And if it's
Mm.
not in alignment, if it's not going to get you closer to your goal, then it's okay to say no. And I
Right.
didn't know to say no before. I was just saying yes to everything because I didn't have a
Mm.
clear goal and I thought, well, sure, I didn't have a sales goal. So
Mhm.
by having a clear goal, by having sales goals, that gave me the confidence to be like, what you thought? Oh, that's not it. No.
It's
What you
not gonna
thought?
work.
Yeah. To
Not
that,
gonna work.
come on, we can do that. And I feel like people sometimes are afraid to make a sales goal
Mm.
because they're afraid of not meeting it. They don't meet it. What does that mean for you?
Like I
Yeah.
failed. I didn't do what I needed to
Yeah. See,
do.
so you have to take your ego out of it and just know that you have to see what you're working towards to see as you're going towards it. Am I getting closer? Am I exceeding? Am I nowhere near? And then we have to go back and adjust some things before it's too late. Didn't know to do the first time, but we learned to do the second time. And that's where we started growing about leaps and bounds, 150,000, 200,000, 400,000, 500,000. And it was like, this is
Selling cupcakes.
cupcakes all over the world. It
I
was
love it.
amazing. Yeah.
So what okay. So what made you guys decide to close up shop?
We got tired. Plain and simple, girl. We were tired. My husband, when I came to him and said, let's start a bakery, and he said, I don't know if I want to go back in that kitchen again. He was right. It's a lot. And people always saying, hire more people, hire more people. And the more people you hire, you got to hire the babysitter to watch them. But then you got to hire a babysitter to watch the babysitter. Then you got
Right.
to hire a babysitter to watch the babysitter to the babysitter. So people don't understand that's still work. That's
Right.
still stressful. If anyone calls out and you don't get the coverage, it's you that got to go in there. So we were ready for something new. Our kids were older, so we're a homeschooling family. So we ended up homeschooling in the bakery, and they were getting older, going their separate ways. They weren't young anymore, or they didn't go to the same co-ops, and it was just getting just tiresome. And we were ready for something new. This was about a year after COVID hit, and we wanted to move. We've been in that neighborhood for so long, and we just felt like we were ready to level up. Like all the way around. We got grown this place. We packed up our house in 16 years. We moved over the bridge to South Jersey, got the house of our dreams, literally the house that I've always pictured in my head ever since I was a little girl. And I got it. And maybe a few months after that, I said, I don't want to travel anymore. I just want to shut it down. And he looked at me and he said, are you sure? And I said,
Mm.
yes. And,
Mm.
but even before then, we were already mentors. Like it was natural to us because
Mm.
people were already coming into the store. I've been watching you for so long. How can I start? How can I
Mm.
clothing boutique? How do I start? I want to start Cupcake with. How do I start? I want to start juices. I want to start a truck, whatever. And we were just helping the best of our ability that we could. And the whole online business thing started brewing and coming up.
Yeah.
What's going on the internet? Let's see how we can make this transition. What can we do? So we wrote an ebook, and that was our first digital product.
Mm.
Think like a CEO, and that thing went crazy. People loved it. And then bakers started asking more specific questions. I'm like, oh, one, but call it a baker's edition just for bakers. So I made a second one, and girl, that thing went crazy. But then they started coming back and asking more questions. And I'm like, all right, this ebook is not enough. It's great, but people need more.
That
Yeah. So that's when we
hand
decided,
holding, right? That
yeah,
hands-on
let's take it.
experience, someone they could
Yeah.
talk to.
And I
Yeah.
did get it because that's how I felt like, and I felt embarrassed to talk to people when we were starting. I felt like I should have known things and I didn't know. I felt like I was bothering people.
Yeah.
Never wanted anyone to feel like that. Never wanted, I wanted these people who were coming to us and trusting us, and I wanted them to feel like, I wanted them to have that hardship. And so that's when we created Start Small and Big Academy, and that was open to all business industries.
Mm.
And that was our course, our step by step. We recorded videos on our porch and you
Yeah.
ourselves available so that we had that a few months before we closed the bakery. So that was our transition into the online coaching industry. So it was like an easy transition because God already opened up a door for us to make that transition. He was already brewing before we even made the decision.
Right.
So he already had something in the works. And that was it. We said our goodbyes and we closed up shop. Girl, we left the state and here we are.
And how many years has it been since that happened?
It was January 2021.
Wow, still a little fresh. Like
Mhm.
only a couple of years.
Y'all.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay, as we wrap up here, because I felt like you did like a really good job of kind of like weaving in kind of some of the lessons learned that I know that you are probably teaching within your courses, right? And you've talked to us a little bit about like the people who might come to you, right? Like bakers. And it sounds like even people who are like not bakers, but are in the food industry might come to your program too, like someone who wants to sell juices. Is that accurate? Or do you mainly focus on bakers?
No, since then, so Start Small and Big Academy was open to everybody, but then we tailored it to the food industry and bakers. But then since then, I go with what the market needs. So now we have a full online learning center called Mars School of Business and Financial Freedom because I realized that people need more than how to start a business. They need a holistic education. Well, we do financial literacy and accounting and like everything, just teaching people that business knowledge that they can take anywhere, pass down to their kids and all these things. So we kind
Mm.
of transition it to that, and that's what we're doing now, and that's open to everybody. I don't care if you're looking to start it, write an ebook, and how do I sell this ebook, Jen? I don't care if you're trying to open up a boutique for women's clothing or something, or if you're trying to get into the coaching industry. Like I've done all of that at this point. So
Yeah.
it's
So,
very
question
different.
for you, like for people who are out there that are like, I need some training, because I know you have like cupcakeologypa.com, right? And
Mhm.
is that one more for bakers? And
Yeah,
then the Morris School of Business.com is the more general one. Like if
yeah,
you want financial freedom, if you just want to know the basics of business, regardless if you're a baker,
yeah,
that's where you go.
absolutely.
Ah, nice. But you
Yeah.
still do something for the bakers, which is nice too.
Oh yeah, of course. That's my art. Like
Right.
that's me. Absolutely.
You've talked about the business plan, right? And I saw that weaved into your website. And you've also talked in this conversation about money and knowing your numbers, right? And finance.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you talk to future business owners about? Or people who are been in business but they can't just seem to make it. What advice do you have for those folks?
Always be learning. just learning, like some people, when they get to the point where they have their business, because we had a service for business owners who sometimes been in business longer than we've been alive. And they're at that point where you just saying, it's a whole new world out here and you're stuck. But sometimes their mentality is, but I already know this, but you just told me that you're stuck. So there are obviously some things that you don't know, right? Gotta
Mm-hmm.
continually learn and keep up with the market, your customers, the trends. You have to know your customers. I always say, know your customer persona. Like, it's your bestie. Like, be obsessed with your customers. Know their lifestyle. Like, know what they like and what they no longer like and how they need you, right? And
Mm-hmm.
add for value. So if you have to constantly shift, because people out here are shifting back, because social media has people shifting back. That's
Mm-hmm.
before, when I was in business before, like people shift so quickly in what they need and how they need it and what they want. And so you as a business owner, you will always be in business as long as you know what your customers need and want, and able to articulate that you have the solution to their problem today. Because
Mm.
problem today may be different than the problem they had yesterday and different from a problem they will have tomorrow.
Okay, folks, you just dropped some gold. Okay, few wrap up questions for you, Jen.
Yes.
So, how do you stay organized? Any tools, software, techniques, anything that you want to share with the listeners?
Yes. So my organization, I am so old school. It is spreadsheets. Oh my gosh. It may sound so silly, like really girl spreadsheets. No, seriously. And my students laugh at me. But spreadsheets keep me organized. I don't really do the whole tool thing. Like all of my appointments are on Calendly, which I love.
Oh,
And
yeah, me too.
everything has to be automated. I use Zapier. Have you ever heard of
Oh,
Zapier?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh, because that just integrates everything. It just connects everything for me. Because I'm so old school and I got this here and that there and that where my course of Kajabi and this, but Zapier just makes everything so flow.
Just seamless. No, I'll definitely put everything you mentioned in the show notes.
Yeah.
And then, do you have a hobby?
I do gardening. So since I moved to my lovely home with 7 acres of land, I've took
Woo!
gardening and farming and just homesteading as much as possible and just so that's my new thing, gardening, and it is a process.
I have a friend that does gardening, and oh my goodness, I'm just like, girl. She's like growing lettuce and
Yeah.
basil and tomatoes and cucumbers and all kind of stuff. I'm like, if there is a zombie apocalypse, somehow I'm gonna make it to your house
Yeah, you better.
because you
I'm
have everything.
sure stacked up, pickling everything, freezer stacked up with squash and okra right now. Yeah, so gardening for sure. It just relieves my stress.
Nice. And then please tell the listeners where to find you, all the different places, because I know there are folks out there that are looking to get some assistance because it is nice to have someone to talk to, right? So please let them know, like, where should they go?
Sure, I'll send them to the one place, and they can
Okay.
branch off from there. It's www.morrisschoolofbusiness.com. And you can find me on Instagram at Rob_Jen Morris.
Perfect. Oh my goodness, Jen, this combo. I'm so inspired. I love digging into your story. And I feel like your students are lucky to have you as a teacher because you're teaching them things from your real world experience, which I think sometimes doesn't happen. Like people be teaching stuff, but they have no clue.
Girl,
Like,
don't I know it?
but you have lived it. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. This was amazing.
Well, what I tell you guys, Jen did not disappoint. Her story, her and her husband's story, absolutely amazing. I love that I get to talk to these amazing women doing extraordinary things. I mean, it's just like a reminder to us all, whatever we put our mind to, we can do, right? And oh my goodness, I think she gave so many good lessons learned, and from really figuring out what your business plan, and whatever you want to call it, you want to call it your business plan, you want to call it your framework, you want to call it your plan, really just figuring out all the aspects of your business, I think was great. Some people are team business plan, some people aren't, but it is always a good thing to kind of like write out your strategy for the future, right? And so I love that, and I love how passionate she is about it. And then also, you guys know I have multiple articles and episodes on financial freedom. You could just search finance on my website and it'd be like, and so she, oh my goodness, just her story on bouncing back from bankruptcy, understanding her numbers more. I mean, it is just a reminder for everyone, right? To know your numbers, to make sure that you have good financial goals and make good financial decisions. Just inspiring. And then just the last thing I'll mention is just getting started. Like, right, she started out of her home and slowly built the business. And so I think sometimes we make things bigger than what they need to be when we just need to start. And so I say, my friends, just start. And I don't care how old you are, where you are in life, like, you can do this. And I feel like her, along with the other women that I've interviewed, have exhibited that very well. Like, it can be done. So anywho, show notes for this page is over at nachesnow.com/176. Anything we mentioned in the episode will be over there as a link. Also, remember the Milanote class, nachesnow.com/Skillshare. The newsletter, you can find the link over on the show notes. You can find the Skillshare link over on the show notes too. And you can find the SpeakPipe over on the show notes. So if you just go to nachesnow.com/176, just start clicking things, signing up for things, clicking things, you name it. Okay? All right. Well, you guys know what to do. If you love this episode, please rate me 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and rate me on Spotify. If you're looking at me on YouTube, hey, give me that thumbs up. And wherever you're listening, please subscribe, and share away. All right, you guys have a wonderful week, and I will catch you guys next week. Take care. Bye.